All right. So what we're going to do today is kind of make a smaller book to go inside our journal. The book that we're going to make today is called a tunnel book. This morning, Sarah sent out an email with illustrated instructions for what we're going to be doing today. But I'll kind of go through it together as we go through it now. But I wanted to show a couple examples of what a tunnel book might look like. So one. I have two here. One I did as a collage, and the other I did as a drawing. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. All right. And so a tunnel book is basically a little booklet that has holes in it. And as you go through those pages, those holes get smaller and smaller until you get to the bottom page. And so you're kind of tunneling through the book. And so this is a little example of what a tunnel book might look like. This is one I made from a garden magazine, and I cut pages from that magazine to kind of add to my little booklet. But you can see as I go through it, the hole gets smaller and smaller as I go through. And the idea is that you're going deeper, right? You're starting the surface level and just gradually going deeper and deeper. And so you can see that hole that I have gets smaller and smaller until I get to that last page. And this one is just kind of a little garden book. One of the things that I did with this book specifically is that I made little affirmations for myself. I have a little dictionary that's kind of torn up. And so I started cutting letters and words out, giving myself the affirmations that I need. I know for me, it's easy to get distracted by life. And sometimes it's nice to have those affirmations there to help kind of refocus my mind and my energies, just having those good reminders. So I have them plastered all over my house. And I have a little booklet here that has those affirmations in it for me. So I have ones like breathe and enjoy each moment, and just kind of creating those affirmations for myself. So this is one that's done with a collage, but it doesn't have to be collage. You can add so many different things to it. This is another one I did that I did just with markers and pens, drawing it. And so you can see, again, it's that same thing, that tunnel, starting with that bigger hole. And as I go through it, you see the fishes and the turtles. That hole is getting smaller and smaller, going deeper and deeper until we get to that last page. Yeah. And so those are just a couple examples of what a tunnel book might look like. I just wanted to kind of show those to get us thinking, get us started. And we're going to kind of go through this tunnel bookmaking process today. So the supplies that we need for today are going to be a piece of paper, at least one. I'm using, let me move my camera up a little bit. I'm using regular copy paper, but I also have some construction paper. The truth is, to make a book that's about this size, that's 3 by 4 size, you'll need a paper that's about 8.5 by 10, the 8 by 10 regular printmaking paper or like construction paper. You can start with smaller paper, but you're going to end up with a smaller book. And so having a full page to start off with is really helpful. I'm using, like I said, copy paper and construction paper today, but you can use like a page from a magazine or a book. You can use a calendar. Some calendars have some really beautiful images, and this is a great way to use that calendar. And it gives you a pretty large size paper to start with too. So we'll need that paper to start with. We'll need at least one. You'll also need a pair of scissors, your glue stick, and then a pen or marker. And so we're just going to be doing that tunnel book today. Hopefully you have enough time to start adding things to that book. But we're going to start by just making that tunnel book today. I know I just see a question in the chat about the type of paper. If you want to use stiffer paper, you definitely can. I think sometimes construction paper is really thin and flimsy and sometimes a little hard to work with. We are going to be folding and cutting. And so having something a little stiffer, cardstock works well. It's a little harder to fold, but cardstock works well. Scrapbooking paper works well. Copy paper is probably the ideal thickness, but it's definitely okay to use something a little stiffer. That was a great question. So it's good to think about when you're adding stuff to your book, it's good to think about what images you want seen. So with my book here, you can see I've got the holes, but I've got different flowers that are kind of sticking out in that space. So you can see those flowers, not just the edges, but you can see those flowers sticking out. And so it's good to think about, when we're adding stuff to it, what you want seen. Sometimes that means thinking about that last image. And in my last image, I have that little sunflower or daisy, Gerber daisy, in the center. So hopefully you can kind of see it come through the book. But it's good to give some thought to what you want seen. So let's talk just a minute about the illustrated instructions. I don't have a hard copy of it, I apologize. But we have two illustrated instructions that we're going to be working with today. One is the snake book, and this is kind of the base of our tunnel book today. It's about folding and making one cut. I'll walk us through this process today, but this is kind of that recipe to take with you. If you enjoy this, you can use the instructions again, make more snake books, or if you don't enjoy it, you can definitely tear it up and throw away. Sometimes that's nice to be able to rip something up. But the first page we're going to be working with is that snake book page. And then that next one is actually the tunnel book where we start drawing the holes and cutting them out. And again, I'll be guiding us through each of those steps today. So let's start by making our snake book. Now this is a really easy, I'm going to start by using yellow construction paper. But pull out whatever paper you'd like to start with. Rectangular paper is the best way to start when making a snake book, but you can use a square one as well. But I have my piece of construction paper and I have it laid out. So it's kind of horizontal, right? It's laid out long ways. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start folding, and feel free to follow along with me. And of course, if questions come up, feel free to ask. But what I'm going to do, I'm laying my paper out and I'm going to take it and fold it in half long ways. I heard someone say one time that this was folding it hot dog style, so it's long, and then folding it this way was hamburger style. So it was something that was just really cute. So we're folding it into a hot dog. We're folding it long ways. And so we're just kind of making that first fold. So the next thing we're going to do is after we fold it, we're going to open it up and then fold it that other way. So we're folding it in half again, but we're folding it in half the short way and creasing it. All right. So with our book, we started off by folding it long ways, opening it, and folding it short ways and opening it. So we have our one piece of paper that's folded into 4 sections. Okay. So that next step, if you're following along with the illustrated instructions, we're going to make some more sections. So I'm going to take my right side and fold it to the center and crease that. So I'm taking that right side, the short side, and I'm folding it into that center fold, creasing it and opening it up. And I'm going to do that with the left side as well. Take that left side, fold it to that center fold and crease it. So now that we've got our paper folded, we have our one paper that's now in 8 different sections, right? And so this, if you were with us a month ago, we started doing zines and accordion books and things like that. And this is kind of in that same vein. So we've got those folds. We have our 8 sections. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors and make a cut across 3 of them. And so I'm just going to take my marker. You don't have to do this, but I'm doing the marker so it's easier to see what I'm doing. But I'm going to cut 3 of those sections, right? Leaving one section together. So if you have your scissors, go ahead and make that cut. We're just cutting all the way down. To the end of that mark, leaving those 1 sections together. And so what we want to do, we have kind of, I don't know, I guess that looks like a pair of pants, maybe. We have this image where we have like our 8 sections and we've cut through 6 of them. So we have those 2 sections that are uncut. What we're going to do is just kind of fold it down we're folding those creases, right? That folded edge, and we're going to turn it into an accordion book. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of fold it, that accordion book style, on all those creases. And then I'm going to fold it the other way, just kind of stretching out those creases a little bit. So if you are using a page with images on it and you want those images seen, you're going to want those images on top, right? Because what we're going to do is we're going to fold it down like this and just folding those pages, right? And so I'm going to take my front cover and just fold it in and then out and then in, and do the same thing on the other side. We're making that accordion fold. Okay. So when we open it up, you can see those pages. Right. Okay, I'm going to show it one more time. So we have our 8 sections here. 6 of them are cut through. So I'm just going to fold it down. And again, if you have a printed paper, you want the print on the top for this one, because what we're going to do is just kind of fold it down. And then you can see that aerial view. I'm just kind of making those creases, folding on those creases and making that book. And this is going to be our book for today, the beginning of our tunnel book. Okay. And let me know at any point if I need to repeat anything or go back over something or explain it differently. But we have that accordion book now. So let me show on my paper again. So I have my paper laid out. I have those cuts through it. I'm going to take and fold that paper down, right? So I have my image on top and I'm just folding that paper, that one page or part that we didn't cut, I'm folding it down. Okay. So now we have those 2 cut parts are sticking out and that one folded part, right? So then what we're going to do is just kind of accordion fold that together. Okay. So fold those edges right where those folds are. We're just kind of stacking them. Okay. I'm doing that with both sides. Right where those creases are, we're just kind of folding them to stack them. So when you look at your accordion book here, you're turning that first page is one single page. That second one, you're turning that fold. So you see that, that fold there. We're turning that fold. That third page is the folded page, the one we didn't cut. So it's 2 pages that are connected at the top. And then that 4th page is a folded page. And that last page is a single page. So the folding part can be a little tricky, but laying it out this way really helps set us up for a successful tunnel book. So what we're going to do after we get it folded, we're going to start cutting those holes in there. So I'm going to take, I'm going to do it with a marker so it's easier to see on camera. But if you have a pencil, sometimes that's a little easier to work with. But what we're going to do on that first page, now it's that single first page, right? It's not folded, it's just that single page. I'm going to go through and just kind of draw a circle. I'm going to go kind of close to the edge. So you can see that big circle, there's a little frame around it. Now you can do, mine is kind of a rounded rectangle. You can do something that's more organic and wiggly. You can do something that's round. Whatever shape that you're wanting to cut out, you want to make sure that you're kind of close to the edge. This is the beginning of our tunnel, right? So after we do that first circle, we'll go to cut it out. I'm going to take that first page and just kind of snip it, right? So I've got that little hole on the inside. I'm going to cut that shape out. So if you're there, go ahead and start cutting that space out. And again, we're cutting just that first page. And I'm just kind of cutting around that mark that I made. I like doing these circles and more organic shapes than squares because I have a hard time doing straight lines. But squares, if you're doing a square, oops, if you're doing a square, I mean, that looks nice too. Really, whatever shape you do will work for this part. So you can see that first one I cut out, and it's like this little frame, right? And so when I did my hole, I cut it really close to the edges. I left a little gap, but this is going to be that biggest hole. That first page we're working on is that biggest hole. That's starting our tunnel. And so you want it to be kind of close to those edges. Now our second hole, so this first page, we have that hole. It's a single page. When you turn the page, you'll notice those are two pages together, right? That's a folded page. Our next hole is going to go through both of those, right? So we did one hole, one size. This next hole is going to be done twice, right? We're going to go through both of those pages. So I'm going to leave my book folded like this so I can see my first hole here. And then I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to draw another hole, but I'm going to go slightly in and make it a little smaller. So you can see my first hole that we've cut out, and then that second circle that I've drawn is slightly smaller than that first hole. So you can see already our circles are getting smaller. We're starting to see that tunnel a little bit. So once you do that second circle, we're going to cut that out. Okay, and we'll cut it out the same way we did that first one. I usually just make a snip in the middle, but if you have like an X-Acto knife, sometimes that's a little easier to work with. But I'm just going to cut out that second circle. And so if you want to, I know some people will cut through both at the same time. I don't have a lot of control. It's a little harder for me to do that. So I cut one at a time myself. But if it feels comfortable to go ahead and cut through two papers at the same time, definitely do that. But I'm cutting out this first one. And we want those two pages, that folded paper, the hole to be on, the same hole to be on both of those. Okay. So if I open my pages up, you can see that hole is getting smaller, right? And so I'm going to take that second hole that I cut out, and I'm just going to draw through it so I have the same size hole. So I have my first page, that single first page. The second page is the folded page, and I want that hole to be the same on both of those. So I'm just going to take my pen, my marker here, and just draw a little circle that's the same size. So if I open it up, you see I have one large circle, and then I have two circles that are the same size, right? And so I'm going to cut that one out. So we're working on that folded page right now, that first folded page. If you want to go ahead and glue those pages together, definitely go ahead and do that. So we have that first hole, then we have our second hole. So we're going to make that third hole now. So I'm going to make sure my book is closed and I can see the different size circles on my page. I'm just going to take my marker and draw a slightly smaller circle. So I'm going to have 3 different size circles now. So you can see that tunnel is growing deeper, right? We have that first page, that biggest hole. Our second page gets a little smaller. And so on that third page, we have an even smaller circle that we're going to cut out. So that whole page that turns, we're going to cut through both of them. And so, like I said, I have to do it one at a time because I don't have a lot of control in my hand. But if it's easier to cut through two at the same time, definitely do that. But we're just going to cut that circle out. So if you want to go ahead and do them at the same time, definitely do that. Or you can do like what I'm doing, cutting out one and then drawing that exact same size on that next page and cutting that out. So what's happening is that we're doing the first circle once, that second circle twice, that third circle twice, and then that fourth circle is going to be twice as well. And so I'm just going to kind of cut that circle out. And like I said before, I like doing the circles, the more organic shapes, because I feel like it doesn't have to be exact. And I don't have that stress of like making the super straight lines because it's a little more of an organic shape. But at the same time, no, if you are doing a collage on your paper, it really doesn't matter how straight or crooked those marks are that you're making because you can cover them up pretty easily. Okay. So I have my tunnel book. I have that first circle done once. That second circle is done twice. That third circle is done twice. And so we're going to do a fourth circle and we're going to do it twice as well. Okay. Everybody kind of see that progression? We're starting with one of the largest circle and then going that second circle, we're doing it twice, it's slightly smaller. That third circle, we're doing it twice and it's slightly smaller. And then that fourth circle, we're going to do it twice and it's going to be slightly smaller. So I'm going to close my book up. So right now I have 3 different cuts on mine too. I'm going to go ahead and cut the last one so we can kind of see how that finished tunnel book looks. So I'm just going to go ahead real quickly. Yeah, so you can make it. You can make those circles a little bigger. You can make them smaller. You can make them closer to the same size. And you can see like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see my edges are not perfect. Really happy with the results, but it's images from Garden Magazine. I pulled out a calendar that had flowers in it too and kind of added to it. But you can see each page I lift up and go through, you can see that hole is getting smaller and smaller. So you're seeing more of those images show up, right? And it's just those basically like, 4 pages? 4 pages that we're turning. And so like you'll notice like with mine, you don't really see all those jagged edges that are showing up because I have those collage papers on top of it. I have little flower images that kind of stick over the holes, so it's not as evident. So I think that's one of the nice things about doing the collage with this, that is that it hides up our quote unquote flaws with the scissors or those knives. And so it's just kind of like that hole starting really large and getting smaller as we go to the end. And then that last page has no hole in it. Right? It's that final page. And so when we set our book here, our tunnel book up, this is it completely open. And you can see that first hole is the largest. We have one of the largest holes. And then those next 2 holes are the same size. And then we have those next 2 holes that are the same size. And then those last 2 holes are the same size. And they're gradually getting smaller, right? Each size is getting smaller. And that last page has no hole in it, right? So when we get ready to do that gluing, so let's see, I have my book here. And I'm just going to kind of fold it up. So you can see those tunnels, you can see those pages. So the front, where I'm going to be working, there's the folds that are holding them together. What I'm going to glue is the back side, right? So I'm going to take, so this, if I turn my page to the right, I'm opening it up, right? I have those folds. What I'm going to do is open my page to the left. And those are the two I'm going to glue together. So you're gluing together the pages that have the same size holes, right? And so I'm just going to take my glue stick and kind of glue those pages together. Gluing those same size holes together and pressing it in. And if you're like me and you just break yours, know that it's easily fixable. You can just collage on top of it or tape it down. That's what I like about a lot of art making, is that it does involve some problem solving here. Like, I may have messed up, so to speak, here, but it's not a mess, because this is something, especially if I'm collaging, I can put flowers on top of it, or, images of words or things like that on there. You want to glue those back pages together. So each page that has the same hole, we're gluing those holes together, the same size holes. And so I'm just going to kind of go through really quickly and do that. Kind of glue those pages down. So the same size holes are getting glued down. And please know, I know that we've been doing this somewhat quickly, but there is a video. We're recording this now, so you'll be able to follow along, pause and repeat as often as you like.